Hi, I'm Mike McLean. Welcome to the Short Circuit podcast, brought to you by Swift Aircraft. In this series, we'll be chatting with a variety of people from all walks of life, but who all have one thing in common: aviation. We'll discuss how and why they got into aviation, what or who inspired them, and what they would say to encourage young people to get involved. Flight fascinates many of us, and our guests will explain why they are compelled to look to the sky. Today's guest on the Short Circuit is Gerry Dyer. Gerry is the founder and presenter of the YouTube channel Big Jet TV. I first discovered BJTV during the COVID lockdown period and was instantly impressed with his passionate and lively personality commentating on the activity at London Heathrow Airport. I was watching live when he was broadcasting during Storm Eunice, and the mainstream media rolled up to try and interview him while he was going viral, filming and commentating from the roof of his van. Meanwhile, there were airliners desperately trying to land sideways, screaming right overhead. That was some crazy TV and excellent YouTube content. It's well worth digging that out. But from listening to his regular shows and reading the chat feeds running alongside the pictures, it's clear that Gerry has tapped into a nerve of the section of the population. I feel he has done more to raise the profile of aviation in general, and commercial aviation in particular, than anyone else in decades. All aspects of the industry get discussed and dissected on his channel, while it remains entertaining, informative and amusing. If you want to hear the definition of enthusiasm, then join me now, listening in to this conversation here on the Short Circuit. Good afternoon, Gerry Dyer, the daddy of them all with Big Jet TV. We're going to run through our questions here on our Short Circuit podcast. And question number one, Gerry, is who are you and what's your current role involving aviation? How do you get involved with the whole thing?
Well, I'm Gerry Dyer, and I'm the creator and the presenter of Big Jet TV, live twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And Sundays. I've only been doing it for 7 years, yeah, we often go overseas as well, as a lot of people will know. We go to Europe and to the United States and now out to the East. So lots of exciting stuff to see and hear. It's a great channel, and we really enjoy having a great community with us as well.
That's good stuff. It's I must admit, I on a personal basis, big fan of Big Jet TV. I've been following it since lockdown. With the pandemic, and I have learned so much. It's been good for me. It was good for me at the time, and it's also opened my eyes to a whole part of aviation which I wasn't particularly familiar with. So yes, it's appreciated. I think there are many listeners and viewers out there who would agree with me on that. Okay, so
thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. So, second question really is, what was the incident that got you into aviation, or was there a thing or a person or a particular day, or how did you get into aviation back in the day?
This is all on my website, on my bio, but it's quite a long story. My father flew Constellations way back with Skyways of London. Flew the Britannias with British Eagle, did a short stint, I believe, on CL-44s with Tradewinds at Gatwick, and then went on to fly the DC-8 freighter with IAS, and also onto Saudi Arabian Airlines with their 747 freighters as well for a short stint. So I've had aviation running through my veins since I was born, basically. Always looking up to the sky, always listening out. Aviation is part of my culture, and that's it, really. Fortunately for me, one time there was an opportunity about 7 years ago where Bruce Dickinson was bringing his 747 in to Stansted, I think it was, and he had one of his crew film it live. And the fact that it was Iron Maiden, of course, there were tens of thousands of people watching, but nothing actually happened. But I saw the excitement and realized, you know what, this is interesting because of the background that I've come from with marketing and media and extreme sports, motocross, all that kind of stuff, downhill mountain biking. I felt that perhaps there was a way that I could take aviation and make it into something cool, but educational at the same time. And one opportunity, put the phone up against the fence at London Heathrow, very quickly moved on by the police. But in the short time that I was live, I managed to get a small audience together. And me being a bit of a talker and liking to sort of like discuss anything aviation with anybody, any questions, I've learned, like yourself, I've actually learned a lot from Big Jet TV. But that was it 7 years ago. And then I ramped it up very, very quickly. And we became the channel that we are today.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, the time seems to have shot by, and going from just holding your phone up against, holding your phone up against a fence to the sophisticated outfit that you're running now. That's quite
there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it. I'd have to be on here for about an hour to explain every single different layer, the different memberships that we went through before. Then we were hunted by YouTube and asked to become the first guinea pig for trialing channel membership. They flew me out to New York. They wanted to know what my trick was, you know, and yeah, we were very fortunate that turn in our channel when we put on YouTube membership, it just opened up the floodgates in terms of us being able to do far more for our members and offer more to the community. Wow. But in terms of it's gone from an iPhone camera right the way through. We tried all the funky big cameras and the super lenses, and ended up with this amazing little Panasonic VX1 camera, which is 500 quid. It's cheap. We've got spares. It's that cheap, and it lasts a long time. It's got great zoom capability. So that's one thing that I've stuck with throughout Big Jet TV is the Panasonic camera. Everything else as well, with Teradek in the United States, we've got a great relationship with them. They're basically the #1 streaming platform in terms of equipment. And of course, all the different parameters. I have to mention Gerry as well is a very, very central part of the whole organization in terms of the technical stuff. When we go live, it's not just flicking a button. There's quite a lot to it. And the audio, we've tried different audio systems throughout and come up with these little lavalier mics, which is crazy, with Rode. And so yeah, we've evolved, but it doesn't look like it because it's just a tripod with a backpack and a camera on top of it. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. I just look like any normal plane enthusiast out there with a camera and a tripod. But yeah, in terms of the technology and the equipment, we're very fortunate to have had so many good relationships with people where we've got the right equipment, and we're able to deliver not just good quality footage, but also good quality entertaining action from airports.
Yeah, I mean, it's from what I've seen. You now have I suppose imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but you've spawned a whole rake of other people trying to find their own little niche in the aviation market, and there are some better than others, but I think we need to get your t-shirt with the daddy of Big Jet TV on there.
I mean, look, I wish all these guys the very best. All I would say is that look after your members, your channel members, or your subscribers if you don't have channel membership. But you need to give them what you say you're going to give them, and you need to look after them. And I mean, I hate to say this, but I will say it. Like Gerry says, when people say, there are other channels and la-di-da-di-da, and she just goes back and says, yeah, but there's only one Gerry Dyer.
Yep.
you know. And because I'm so open about everything, and I'm talking to you now as I talk on the channel. There's no sort of like, you know, persona or anything sort of you know, different about me in my walk of life. It is as I am. But when I get behind that camera, it's it's a community. It's like being on stage in a funny sort of way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you're with the community, and they're behind you rather than in front of you. You know, they're sitting there and watching and getting involved in the chat. The integration is just fantastic with pilots, you know, engineers. We get teams from different airlines watching us, and you know, lots of pilots asking, you know, can you catch my departure? Can you catch
Mm-hmm.
my landing? We get lots of that stuff. We're always on the hunt for the big freighters, you know, because of the 747s no longer being with BA, which is a whole another story on its own. It's just it's a great shame. So we have to hunt them down, and we're always obviously very excited when a 747. We'll always wait around if there's a jumbo coming in or
Yep.
going out, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very humbling, I have to say, with the amount of people who write into us. And you know, we were talking about, you know, youngsters who've taken inspiration. We've had one guy who was a member, joined many moons ago, and he's now a pilot.
Wow.
He's become a pilot. You know, we've got ramp agents who started working at the airport because of Big Jet TV, who've, you know, taken inspiration by seeing the stuff that I show at the airport. And I always will say that, you know, like you guys are so heavy on STEM, I will always say, speak to Heathrow, and they're on a big recruitment drive at the moment as well. So, you know, speak to Heathrow and get a job out on the ramp. I mean, what you know, even as a trainee out there in the tug, you know, it must be just fantastic for a youngster of sort of like 18, 19, 20. And then you hear of people who've started on the ramp, ended up as a CEO of an airline. You know, it just happens that way. You know, it all depends on the individual. So, you know, it's great to know that we are an inspiration to youngsters. We've got people from 5 years old up to 95 years old watching the show. You know, members who've been with us for many years, right from the get-go, right from the early days. And it is just, like I say, it's very humbling.
I must admit that there is something about getting airside. It doesn't matter whether it's at a small regional airfield or whether it's at an international airbase, airport, or a military airbase. Once you get airside and it gets into your nostrils, you know, it's
oh my goodness me. Yeah, I mean, we've done quite a few things airside, you know, not just in the UK, overseas as well. I mean, I can remember being in Louisville, and there was the UPS main hub there, and then behind us there was this ramp with, like, I think 3 747-400s parked up behind us, and I could see this one behind me was getting ready to fire up, and I was like, I'm probably 40 yards from its wingtip, if that, and it's pushed back right there. We've got the whole sequence. We've got the engine start up. We've got the smell. We're hearing the slats extending. We're watching the flaps come down. We're seeing everything. We're looking up. The pilot's giving us a big thumbs up, you know, USA kind of thing. And you know, it's just glorious, that kind of thing, you know. And going from that, going to sort of like RAF Lakenheath, where the US Air Force are, and getting airside with their teams there was just amazing. And I'm so grateful for these folks. Like the guys at Louisville were just amazing, you know, and other European airfields as well, you know, Frankfurt, Munich. Great people there, and we'll continue to bring those sort of like airside cargo shows or specialist shows whenever we can. We're always working for it. That's why I don't just finish on Wednesday and then play golf Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I just play golf on Thursday. But the other days, and when I'm not doing that, it's all hands on the deck, you know, in terms of creating show ideas and checking the plans for the next show, because the winds change, operations change. We like to mix it up as well. That's why we're so fortunate that we've got so many great locations around London Heathrow to film from. We've got more or less every runway operation covered now, in terms of arrivals and departures, but also that great shot of the airfield at London Heathrow is there's so much action going on there. It's always really interesting, and that mixed in with the chat that we have, the integration with the members and the pilots, people asking questions, like we were talking about minimums yesterday, what is actually minimums, and then this huge discussion starts about it. I said I'm something to do with height, maybe speed, I don't know, but it's but it just got onto this massive conversation, all different pilots and specialists and engineers and all that coming in with all their different things, and I'm like, you know what, let's just stop this conversation and get on to something else, because we can't really make our minds up. But I'm sure that I'll ask somebody like Zane, a good friend of ours from Virgin Atlantic, was flying the 747s, now on the 787s, but somebody like that, just send him in a message and he'll come back with it. But we've got some really interesting feedback on questions like that and the discussions, and before you know it, you've been live for like 3-4 hours, because of all these discussions that go on and people joining, and the great gifting membership as well that we have on there, to allow people who maybe can't afford membership to be gifted membership by members. It's just a wonderful sort of like friendly community that we have. And there's that humbled word again.
Yeah, I think your comment on the whole STEM thing and the inspiring people. So taking somebody who's seen a video, seen a YouTube channel, and then starts a career from that in aviation. And it's not just about pilots.
Yes.
I mean, when you talk about aviation, people who aren't involved tend to think instantly about pilots. They don't seem to recognize that, to get one person in the air takes hundreds of people on the ground, sort of things. And you can have a totally fulfilling career and future path without ever holding the control column, but still getting
absolutely. I mean, if you have a love for aviation, but perhaps you don't want to become a pilot, or you don't have the capabilities in terms of the financing and the what's available out there. It's very expensive, let's face it. But again, you've got British Airways, the likes of British Airways, coming in and putting, I think, £1 million down for pilot training for some youngsters who are a little bit less fortunate, who perhaps can't afford it, but have shown the acumen and the want to become a pilot. But yeah, there's people, you could, like I said earlier on, you could literally start working at the airport, working inside the terminals. I think, to be honest with you, because of the increase in traffic, and systems, and also covering off anybody who's ill for a day, for example. There's a lot of opportunities for people to get a job working airside. You could start as a rampage and work, doing the suitcases and all that. But whenever I'm flying out of wherever it might be, Seattle or I'm always looking down out of the aircraft, and I see these ramp agents working away. They've all got their phones. I shouldn't really be doing it, I know, but they've got this big 777 taxiing past them, and there's nothing like it. Like we were talking about airside, just seeing that monstrosity coming past them, and then that ambition may be that ramp agent may go on to become sort of like, a tug driver. And then from a tug driver, he knows all the different parameters of those jobs, and then perhaps becomes a manager. He's got leadership qualities, or she, sorry, apologies. That they have got if they've got very good leadership qualities, they might turn around and say, hey, there's maybe something we can do here to speed up the process of loading or something. And the manager will be like, you know what, that's a good point. We should have a look at that, and then, if you've got the acumen, if you've got the drive, the will to succeed in any career, you can start at any level and make your way up through it. Depends on how far up the ladder you want to go. Some people just stick there and they have a great life being a tug driver or or whatever it is they're doing there. So refueling the aircraft, the wing walker, I mean, imagine being a wing walker, just like, walking back with this aircraft as it's and hearing him, the engines firing up and all that kind of stuff. It's just a wonderful world, isn't it?
Yep.
And it's a city that literally Heathrow, I'm other airfields, international airfields, they are basically cities. 60 odd million people going through that airport. Think how many operations there are, how many you have to take your hats off to the folks that do all the logistics in there and run the place, because it's a massive logistical operation daily, 365 days a year, really, so if you start as a ramp agent, you might want to work yourself up to management, end up in the offices, up in the building, in the terminal, which still gives you access out to the ramp. So, tea break out there with a cup of coffee, maybe just go and stand out there and watch the planes for a bit. If you love aviation, there's so many opportunities. I was an aircraft cleaner once during my holidays, at school at Gatwick Airport. And all the guys, and girls, they'd be like, oh, it's a BCAL. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but that's a DC-10. Can I clean the cockpit? Can I clean the cockpit? All those sorts of things, it just, aviation has just been in my life all my life. And I will always love to talk about it, as you can probably guess.
Well, this is why I contacted you. So two more questions to go, really. So, briefly, where do you see the future for aviation? What innovations do you see coming within our lifetimes that you think will change the game?
Well, in our lifetimes, I'm 60, so say another 20 years, maybe 25 years. I don't know. I'll still be as passionate then, but I won't be able to move as quickly.
I know that feeling.
But the future of aviation, or the future of flight, in my eyes, will obviously be the regional stuff will come first, with the hydrogen powered stuff, electrical flight, very amazing innovation, zero emissions, etc., etc. And I think a lot easier to produce than sustainable aviation fuel. There'll always be a huge gap in the market for SAF because of the fact that it's very difficult to manufacture or grow, even biofuels, etc. We know all about that, but the availability of it, and I think that hydrogen being so available, and that mixing with the air, creating electrical power to power these what will look like turboprops, but they will be completely silent for regional stuff, out of short airfields and stuff like that. That's what I can see happening in possibly another 10 years. Maybe we'll start to see that really ramp up. Airbus are very strong with it. General Electric, Rolls-Royce, Boeing are really strong in it. All the major manufacturers, you guys with your aircraft has the capability of being converted to hydrogen. It's just a fantastic new future for zero emissions. In terms of the big stuff, obviously you can't use that type of power plant to it would have to be huge and massive to lift an aircraft with so much tonnage. Yeah. I see personally the potential, and Airbus have not backed me up on this, but they put a post out a few days after I actually mentioned it on the show, is I can see a potential hybrid system which has hydrogen on board the aircraft, because let's face it, the big aircraft, that thrust is generally used to get it up into the climb. And if he's got a big tailwind behind him, he can sit there and literally run the engines right back. So I'm wondering whether there would be the potential for, once you're up at that cruise altitude, to pull back on the fossil fueled engines and run it with the hydrogen electrical systems, whether that has that hybrid capability. And then obviously on the top of descent, they fire the engines up again, you know. So theoretically, I think it potentially could work, looking at the way that aviation is going and has come. The design of aircraft is absolutely splendid these days with the modern jets. But yeah, I think the big stuff flying would be SAF mainly, and I can see them getting possibly up to around about maybe 20% SAF in about 10 years, perhaps, you know, because they're all running, I think they're running around about 5% at the moment. Right. But I think Airbus actually deliver all of their aircraft with SAF, which is quite interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, that's good. So that brings us to the big question for all our guests. It's the most important one, and that is, what is your favorite aircraft and why? And this is, so your selection will go on a virtual control tower wall alongside the other choices. So I know you're going to say, I've got so many. So you can give me a couple, but I'm gonna push you for one at the end of it. So and we've only got a few minutes left. So
in terms of commercial aviation, you've got to look at aircraft like the Super Constellation. I'm a little bit biased there because my old man flew them, but a beautiful profile of an aeroplane. The Concorde. Let's face it, the 747 in all its guises, my favorite 747 has to be the old ones or twos, you know. The freighters, that's why the freighters, I love the freighters because they look more like they're older, sort of like Jurassic siblings. So the 747, yes, plays a very big part. I love all the modern jets. I love the 737. I love the Max profile. I love the A350, 787-10. You know, there's so many. The Neos are just great looking aircraft. What Airbus have done with their 330s is amazing. But I'm going to say the DC-8.
Wow. Okay.
Of all time, I've seen some beautiful imagery of those aircraft, and I'm looking right now at a picture of my dad climbing out of London Gatwick. He's about 50 feet, less than 50 feet off the deck, and his gear's already 3/4 of the way up. So and just the profile, I love the classic jets. I love the A380, don't get me wrong. I think it's an amazing aircraft. It's a beautiful aircraft to fly on. It's a big, very impressive piece of technology and building. You know, the wings are so fat, it's unbelievable. When you compare that to an old aircraft like the DC-8, that shows you how far we've come in aviation. But yeah, it has to be the DC-8 in whatever form you want, 54, 63, super stretch 71s, whatever. It's fine by me. And my old man flew the freighters as well, which makes him a freight dog and makes it even better, really.
Yeah. Well, I've got to go with you on old school airliners. The DC-8, when I was a kid, it was my favorite. It's got a nice face, which sounds a ridiculous statement, but you'll know what I mean.
It's got those two intakes, hasn't it? The intakes, your little chin intakes, which I think that was for the aircon. But yeah, very, very unique in its looks, and of course those lovely old JT8Ds, I think that were powering them, 9Ds on the 747, weren't they? So, but yeah, just a beautiful aeroplane, beautiful profile. I love the old stuff. Whenever Shay Oakley posts anything, 727s, there's a beautiful one today of a 747 TWA 747 SP. You know, but then I go to Anchorage and I see a DC-6 and a DC-9. You know, it's just we're so fortunate that we get such an array. And there's even a DC-8 at Miami where we visit. Not seen her fly yet, seen her on the ground, but hopefully we'll see her fly one day.
Oh, still operational. That's good. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, still operational with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw DC-8s back in the 70s. I didn't get to fly in one, but I had to transit through Kennedy, and there was some DC-8s kicking around, and they were noisy as well. They
Yeah,
had a very
beautiful.
distinctive sound.
Yeah. Oh, smoky as well, man.
Yeah.
Smoky as well. I mean, I was lucky. I flew on the jump seat with my old man in his DC-8 quite a few times. You know, proper old school analog systems, smoking on the flight deck. You know, like big haze of smoke in there. You know, but just those were the days, man. Those were the real classic days. I'm glad that aviation has gone the way it's gone in terms of safety procedures. You know, the safety on aircraft and around the airfields and everything that's emerged over the years, because obviously we've had some tragedies which have led to much safer conditions for people flying, really.
Yeah, this is true. So, Gerry Dyer, thank you very much for your insights and your input. I'm going to wrap things up here. And so we have a gentleman that followed his dad's footsteps literally into the cockpit of airliners. He got enthused with the bug, started his own video with his phone, got invited by YouTube to create this channel, and now has, how many followers have you got now?
I think we hit 360,000 subscribers on YouTube yesterday.
I mean,
and of course we've got all our amazing members as well. I think we have around about 7,500 members, something like that, which is you know, it's just it's a wonderful thing.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's a, as for things snowballing, this has been something that, like I said earlier on, for me personally, catching on during the COVID years, it made a difference for me. I know it made a difference for thousands and thousands of other people. So we all say thank you to you for
fantastic.
that, and to Jilly as well. We nobody ever forgets Jilly, so we even though we never get to see her.
Really, to be honest with you, Jilly really should be really sitting here with me, and because it has been a journey which she has shared in and been a massive part of, literally for the past 5 years. So, you know, if it wasn't for Jilly, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now talking to you. I'll be honest with you. That's how important she is to the whole operation. Well, so we all say thank you, Jilly. But we plan to go on. We plan to carry on, and we appreciate everybody's support. Really, we do.
Okay, Gerry, we're out of time. Thank you very much. I will be in touch with you some point in the near future.
All the best, my friend. Take care. Okay. Lovely to speak to you. Lovely to meet you.
So, dear listener, there you have it. There's no doubt that Gerry is a man of enthusiasm, passion and drive, consumed by a love of aviation and all that surrounds it. Introduced by his dad at an early age, he was hooked from the beginning and has now found his true calling as a presenter and broadcaster. But in today's terms, he is truly a social media influencer, something that didn't really exist when he started his channel. He is not the sort of person that you would normally picture in your mind's eye when hearing that description, but with his ever-increasing following of supporters and now numerous imitators around the globe, he has truly earned that title. His activity and profile, while it might not be instantly considered as part of the aviation industry, is possibly one of the biggest #inspiring aviation touchstones of a generation, and we're delighted to have had him as a guest here on the Short Circuit. So next time you see someone with a tripod filming your plane as you set off on holiday, you may be live on YouTube. So give them a wave, and remember to fly safe. You have been listening to The Short Circuit, presented by Mike McLean and sponsored by Swift Aircraft with the #InspiringAviation. This has been a Zoom Spike production.